Welcome back to another episode of the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, MudGear-Hannibal Race Pro and Strength and Speed owner, Evan Perperis. I got two guests with me on the line. I'm going to bring one of them on, do our intro from the sponsors, and then I'll bring the other one on. So joining me, I have one of my teammates from the MudGear-Hannibal Race Pro team, Thomas Plush. Thomas, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, a couple times we've been on the podcast in the last year or two. Starting to lose track at this point, but we wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Juice Performer. So Tom, tell me a little bit about Juice Performer.
Juice Performer is a natural way of having energy for your body, for your muscles. It has beet juice and pineapple juice is the flavor I choose, and it supplies more oxygen through nitrates to your muscles. So in theory, it allows you to have better endurance.
Yeah, good stuff. I've brought some of the extra to my work, and I've been sharing it with some of our military members who compete in combatives, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff like that. So
I'm drinking one right now.
Nice. Spreading the Juice Performer love there. And they also have cherry juice, which is great for recovery. All right. Also joining us, we have JC Massie back on the podcast after the Siege episode. JC, say hi.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yeah. So we wanted to bring everyone on the podcast today because we've been hitting up a bunch of local events this year. So one of my goals, I've been competing in obstacle course racing for almost a little over a decade at this point, and I've been starting to accumulate a lot of podiums, and my goal was to hit 100 podiums by the end of 2024. So as 2023 approached, I was basically like on pace, but I like to have a little bit of buffer. So I basically started signing up for like everything that I could get to or that I had a free weekend for. And through not only signing up for all these different events that are within driving distance, but also thanks to apps like OCR Buddy, I found some really unique local events. And we're going to be talking about two of them on today's episode. One of them is called Wildwood Adventure Run, or Wildwood Adventure OCR, which is a local one I did a couple weeks ago. And then the other one is Muddy Water OCR, which both Tom and JC were there for. So we're going to start off talking about the Muddy Water OCR, which I actually found from JC. So JC, tell me how we found this local event.
Well, I joined a Run Wichita Facebook group when I was looking for a 5K this spring, and just threw out things that would pop up on Facebook throughout the year. A little bit before we did Rugged Maniac, it started coming across my screen, and I'd asked you guys if you'd heard of it, and you hadn't. So I believe you got them in touch, and we're doing some work with OCR Buddy to get them on the calendar.
Yeah, that's right. And for those of you who are looking for OCRs or looking to spread the word about OCR, I think that's a great tip because there are run groups. I know I used to train with one in Kansas City, and they, that can help bring some new people into the sport by advertising through people who are already running, being like, hey, why don't you try this thing called obstacle course racing? It's a little bit different, especially a great opportunity for those of you who may cross-train in other stuff and may have a little more muscle than the average runner who tends to be a little bit skinnier. So, and anyway, they have multiple race options. So I guess, JC, tell us about the different race options real quick.
Well, we had the 3 mile individual obstacle course race that I believe we all signed up for. They also had a 2 mile individual, and immediately following those two races, they had the back to the 3 mile or 5K option of a team relay race.
Yep. So the 5K they advertise as competitive, the 2 mile they advertise as open, and then the relay 2 to 6 person team. And Tom was going to go there with his wife, and you were going there. So I kind of jumped in last minute, and then I was like, hey, let's form a team, and then we can talk about it on the podcast, etc. So Tom, talk to me a little about expectations coming into Muddy Water OCR.
I had very little. I wasn't even considering this race until I saw the 4 p.m. start time, and it's only an hour and a half away. And I was like, okay, a little local OCR. I don't have to wake up early or, because we usually drive up about 3, 4 a.m. And for a small race, that's tough to want to do. So I saw the pictures, from last year and the previous years, and I don't think they did the event justice as far as what it actually was. I mean, just from an obstacle standpoint, the Gladiator's been doing this for the longest consecutive Kansas OCRs, and I would put this event over the Gladiator.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. This is, for me, this was one of my, I don't know if it was my favorite local OCR, but it was unique and it was up there. And I had a ton of fun, especially with the relay. So JC, tell me a little bit about the obstacles first, and then we'll talk about kind of what really made this stand out above the other ones.
We'll be in the first group, us three in the 3 mile. The very first obstacle was 15 burpees, and that was to kind of break up the herd and put some distance between all of us. I think we all found out the hard way that they had formed that, probably not knowingly, right in the middle of a sticker patch.
Yeah. So
we kind of had to decide to move off to the gravel and do those burpees, and that kind of separated the field out. And then, we went to what I believe they called the fence builder, which was a 10 or 12 foot piece of timber that we carried for a distance around a tree. And if I remember the course of events right, we kind of cruised to a tire flip after that.
Yep. What I really liked about the layout of the course, so not super technical terrain, so it's not like you're going to be running through single track trail and over, rocky technical sections. It was right along, it was like in a park essentially. So it was right off of a road, which allowed for spectators, if you had friends or family that wanted to come watch, they could see a lot of the obstacles, and realistically they could get in their car, or if there was a golf cart, you could drive up and down the course and actually like follow people. So that was pretty cool, I thought. What were some of the other obstacles you enjoyed, Tom?
Well, the burpees, ironically, is something I really liked having at the beginning to just kind of separate the pack and get everyone's heart rate going. The tractor tires were definitely no joke. A lot of times you get kind of a lighter tractor tire. You really actually had to work on that, which I saw some honesty out of you, because when I flipped mine, it landed on the other tire and I would have wasted too much time trying to push it off. I think I actually even gave it a slight nudge and it didn't move, and I was like, nope, too much time. And I saw you going towards it, and you pushed it off and actually did it the right way. So I was actually impressed by that little honesty and sportsmanship right there. The other obstacle, the spear throw, I thought was a pretty high quality. Sometimes those are not balanced well, so it's all luck unless they're a quality spear. I thought they flew pretty straight. I really liked the Z line too. That was kind of something new, unique, and kind of allowed you to catch your breath a little. And I always love climbing over the round bales. So I think it'd be cool if they had 5 or 6 of those in a row to really gas people.
Yeah, the Z1 he's talking about is a high wire, low wire. So they use a low slack line, a high slack line, or a ratchet strap, and you basically made a Z between sets of trees. So the two that impressed me the most were, one, they did a combination. So you pick up a cinder block, carry it over to a tire, throw it in a tire, drag the tire back across a line, and then you essentially reset the obstacle. So again, something that's like really cheap to make, but it involves multiple steps, and it is, tiring because you have to do multiple things. So I'd never seen that before at a race. And the other one I'd never seen before at a race was the bucket carry. And, I've seen bucket carries before, but what was unique about this, so they had one of those big, essentially cooler type buckets you'd put at like a party and fill up with beer and ice and stuff like that. So a big, like 30-gallon container, and then the 5-gallon. Oh, go for it.
It's a horse feed barrel.
Horse feed barrel.
Usually like livestock feed, and I think it holds like 100 pounds or something like that of feed.
So there was that gigantic bucket, and then there was a 5-gallon bucket, and they had it set up right along the shore of a lake, and you actually had to go out, fill your bucket, come back and dump it in until you hit 25 gallons. And with a 5-gallon bucket, if you filled it perfectly 5 times, that would be it. It's almost impossible, I would say, to fill it perfectly. right? Because you have to walk, 15, 20 feet with the bucket. So I ended up doing, I think, like six like nearly full buckets. I know JC had to do like I think one more. Is that correct?
Yep, I got her in 7.
Yeah. So, I think it's a good example again with Spartan buying up a lot of these. Spartan owns Tough Mudder. They own Warrior Dash, although they've never done anything with it. They own them obviously themselves. They just bought OCR WC. So, with them taking over large chunks of the industry, these smaller brands is what's going to be the feeder brands to the larger people. It's going to get people's foot in the door for a lower price point, get them interested in the sport, and then they can go venture out into some of these big brands. JC, talk to me a little bit about the, what you thought of like the price point versus the value you received.
The price point was great. I mean, I had to drive a little bit further than most, and that didn't bother me one bit, especially when we could get into the race for as cheap as it was. And and what they ended up having for us, t-shirt wise, headbands, and then we'll talk about, I'm sure, the podium awards later. It brought great value, and the atmosphere afterwards was definitely worth the drive that I made.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about the podium awards, since you mentioned them already.
Well, I'd seen they had, looks like local businesses sponsored a lot of the obstacles and had some advertising out. And it's my understanding that someone that owns a woodworking shop that was associated with this race made basically Thor-style hammers out of wood blocks, and they all have wood burning in them, the logo of the race, a nice little leather strap around the end so you could hang it up when you got home. And that was something to look forward to. Knowing what that was and being as unique as it was made me want to bring one home, and I got to bring 2 home.
Yeah, it was the podium prizes were legit. I loved it. I love the little wooden hammers. I think they're super nice, like you said. I thought their use of sponsors and branding was also like really good. They had a bunch of obstacles that were they individually sponsored the obstacles by local businesses, so they could put their branding on that obstacle, so you could see it. And, when you take pictures of that obstacle or something, you get the sponsor's logo in it, whether you want to or not, which I think is just a really good technique, again, for local brands or even big brands, right? I know Tough Mudder's done that in the past, where they used to have King of Swingers, that giant obstacle, and it was sponsored by like a couple of movies and stuff like that. So just a really good, I think, technique for supporting your brand as you're moving forward. The competitive, so the 5K was competitive, so they ended up giving out podium prizes for top 3 overall, but not age group. And then the 2 mile, they said was open, and they actually ended up giving out awards for age group and not overall. So that's just something, if anyone's heading to that event next year, it's just something to be aware of. If you're more of, if you're someone who's not necessarily going to do well in the overall, you might want to put your efforts towards the 2 mile open as opposed to the 5K, right? Because they gave out more hammers in the 2 mile, which was a little bit shorter, obviously shorter of a course. So you missed a couple of obstacles there. So.
And I don't think that gets used enough in OCR, because I think when you get an age group podium, it really, or even close to it, you're a minute off 3rd place. I mean, I think that just motivates new runners and
Agreed.
People that aren't really in the sport. They're like, wow, I actually could probably compete in this. And that draws them into more and more. I mean, that's what happened to me at CTG. Is I wasn't far from a podium on my first run, when I was just, this was going to be a once or one and done kind of thing for me. And I was like, maybe I could actually compete in this.
Yeah. Yeah, my story is the exact same from running. When I started road running, I remember emailing or texting one of my friends, or Facebook Messenger, I can't remember what it was exactly. 2000, let's see, probably like 2006 or so. And I was like, dude, I won my age group. Like, this is crazy. I've never gotten any podiums in anything. And that's what like got me the hooks in. And then I was like, oh, I should keep doing this. And then I got a bunch more age groups. And then eventually those age groups turned into overalls. And then I switched sports. And, here we are in obstacle course racing, chasing 100. So it's been quite a long journey, and it did start with age group podiums. So
The other nice thing about the age group podiums is and the difference in some of the obstacles, they had it set up. My nephew ran, he's 12, and he ran in the 20 and under age group, and they had different weights on some of the obstacles and different size things to carry. And this was his first one. He's played some soccer, some basketball, some football, and he totally excelled in this. And I believe in his 20 and under timesheet, he finished second.
nice.
So somebody that's going to be new to this, because he really enjoyed the heck out of it and the atmosphere and got to watch us run and stuff. I don't think this will be his last one.
Nice. And then let's jump over and talk about the relay. So, Tom, you mentioned it. It was a 4 p.m. start for the 5K, 5 p.m. start for the 2 mile, 6 p.m. start for the relay. Tom, tell me a little about the relay, like how it was organized, and then who our competition was and how many people were on each team, etc.
Yeah. So I thought the relay was done perfect. They used the same course as the 5K, split into 6 sections. They were clearly marked where the next drop off or next person was going to tag in. And what was nice is everything was along the road. So you could essentially run your heat and go either watch or go run a different heat. So I thought that was really nice how we were able to, because, we thought we were going to have to do 2, 2, 2.
Right.
I don't think we would have won doing that way.
I don't know. It would have been really, really close.
So I think the relay was very, there's a lot of people out there that were wanting the gold on that one. So we had some stiff competition. People really, you could see, were strategically putting their teams and putting their guys. And when we came off the first one, I mean, I was in 6th place on the burpees going into it, with at least, I don't know, a 13, 14-year-old being in front of me. Looked like a couple Marines, definitely a CrossFit guy, and I think 1 or 2 college cross-country kids. So they set the pace pretty high. I came out of burpees in first and then got passed very quickly by one of them cross-country kids, but we got to log carry and I was able to take him back there. But no, I thought the team relay was one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, I
Very
agree.
organized.
It was so much fun. And what I really liked, so, OCRWC has longer legs, right? It's a couple miles per. With this relay, the legs were like 900 meters, and it was basically like 2 obstacles per leg. So I had to redline so hard. And like you said, there was college cross country runners there. And just because, I mean, with that short of a distance, the 3 of us are obstacle course racers. So, when you add in obstacles plus distance plus time, we'll rise to the top. But with that short legs, like if you're a fast runner, I mean, you can just kind of fumble your way through the obstacle real quick. And, there's not enough obstacles and there's not enough distance for us to really affect it. So it was, at leg 3 it was still very, very close. I think once we got into the second half of the race, where we each ran our second leg, that's when we kind of opened up the gap a little bit more. But I mean, I did not feel comfortable. Like, I wasn't like, oh yeah, we got this. I was like, this is going to be close. We're going to have to push really, really hard. So.
Oh yeah.
2 nice things that on the relay as well. We kind of had a conversation with the other people that were really wanting to compete in it. There was one obstacle that was the swim or run option.
Yeah.
And it was, I'd say, several hundred yards, maybe 150 yards, chest deep water that you had to wade through. And I actually swam some of it, saved my legs just a touch. And we all decided that the obstacle was more for the water. And even though they could have probably competed faster by running it, we all made a kind of a friendly agreement that we're going to do the obstacle as designed and we're all going to take the water route.
Yeah.
And then being able to finish up was nice because, like you said, the road access, you ran the last leg, but Tom and I jumped in and we all got to finish together, which was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, that was a nice ending. That you guys jumped in because of that water crossing. You guys could catch up, and because of the road access, and that 5-gallon bucket obstacle was on there. So I essentially stopped moving for a couple of minutes as I fill up that bucket. So you guys were able to catch up for that last leg. So that was fun. And I missed the spear throw both times. Complete disaster, which I was expecting. Had to do the penalty, and then we finished up there.
Yeah, I think my nephew's the only one that stuck the spear throw out of us.
I got it on the 2 mile.
Oh, you did? Excellent.
Yes. So on the 5K, my expectation was the spear was going to be a little cheaper and off balance. So I gave it hard, and it went straight above the bell, actually, because they usually drop. I mean, it's better to kind of overdo it because a lot of people underdo it.
I underdid
and then
it.
The second one I stuck it right in the middle. So I was actually really impressed how straight they flew.
Yeah, it was good. And the other thing I really liked about, they had this cool like giant leaderboard up. So as you cross the finish line, you could look over and your name would appear and your time would appear, and then it would keep stacking them. So it'd start rotating through. So another like really nice touch for a really small event. I was just blown away with a lot of the little touches they put into it. So Tom, for you, like what, again, we talked about it before, but like what makes this something you'd come back to?
Having 3 events for one is really nice.
Right.
I don't like driving, on average 3 to 4 hours. So 8 hours in a day for a 25-minute race. That's where I usually do it 1 year, maybe 2 years, and then I'm probably done with it unless there's a change. The festival, that was really cool. Kind of allows the family, like going into this, my mother-in-law, my wife, my son, he was going. So I get a little concerned that they're going to be there for at least a minimum of 4 hours, because I like to stay for the award ceremony and kind of talk to people and build connections. So I was worried about them, are they going to get bored? Is this just going to seem like it's going to drag on for them? But they had a lot of fun. They actually said time just flew by. It seemed like once one race was done, you had just enough time to kind of, get your breath and get loose again, and then you're off to the next one, and then same thing, and then they went directly into the food, the festival, the music, the awards. So everything just kind of flowed really well to where you never felt like you're just sitting there waiting around.
Yeah, it did flow very smoothly. JC, same question on why this might be something you come back to.
Oh, I'll absolutely be coming back to it. I have a little problem with my registration and signing up for the additional event. And the race director, Eric Gates, the communication with him was instantaneous. I emailed him that evening. He said, if you can't figure it out by tomorrow, give me a call. He manually entered my stuff, so I was able to get the additional event. The other race was $10 on top of the registration. And I have to give a shout out. They did a great job with photography. They had drone footage. They put together a kind of a montage video set to music, and that was out the day after the race. Didn't have to wait for some of those things that normally take 3, 4, 5 days to see.
Yeah.
And live music at the end.
The live music was great. There was, concur with all those the things you guys said. If anyone wants to read my full review, it's up on OCR Buddy right now. You can check over and hit up Muddy Water OCR race review up on OCR Buddy. It's in Anthony, Kansas, so it's near Wichita. But again, to me, the atmosphere, the podium prizes, the multiple race options, the afternoon start. To me, these were all like very unique aspects. I've done 150 plus OCRs. I don't recall ever doing one that's an afternoon start. The only thing that ever starts past noon is Toughest Mudder, and it's 8 p.m. to 12 hours later. So this was the afternoon start was cool. We drove down that afternoon. We actually did something in the morning locally, drove down that afternoon, did the race, and then drove back that night. So we didn't even get a hotel, which is fairly unusual for us. We usually get a hotel at least for one night. And we just had other stuff going on, and it's a great opportunity, and it was fun. I think anyone who's looking to put on their own OCR or, looking to can take a look at a brand like this and take a lot of their lessons and apply it. The food, the atmosphere afterwards, the live music, all kind of made for this nice, like relaxing. It felt like summer post-race atmosphere. And if I didn't have to drive back, I would have hung out even longer. But yeah, it was great.
And one thing I want to add in there too, when you talked about like the team relay and how short it was, and there were some quick people, and going into this one, the obstacles, looking at them doesn't do it justice. There was
I
a
agree.
lot of lung burners that you couldn't just be out there and be a speed demon. I mean, you were gonna get tired. You were gonna get your heart rate up. I mean, the cross country runners are a good example. They were a lot faster than us. But I mean,
Yes.
you start off with burpees, you're doing a log carry shortly after, you're flipping a tire, then you're running through water, then you're jumping walls, then jumping an even bigger wall, then you're jumping a round bell. Like, you couldn't just speed through this course like a lot of local OCRs where it's more of like a muddy hutch 5K. That's not even an OCR. It's a 5K with mud and a couple things that you crawl or climb over. But I mean, this one was actually difficult. Like
Yeah.
That sandbag carry, I forgot about that. That was one of the longer sandbag carries that I'd been a part of, and it was 60-pound bag for men.
You missed out on Battle of Lions and the 15 mile.
That was an error on people though. This was
It was
supposed to.
a
This is supposed
what
to.
was it, a 1 mile? I think almost
I don't
3/4
know.
mile.
It was long. It was long. I blame Brent. He ran off course.
Yeah.
But
So
he followed
JC
him.
there, it was probably what, 50, 75. It was a bucket, 5-gallon bucket full of rocks, and we all tripled the distance. So it came out to like 3/4 of a mile.
I think so. But this one was at least a quarter mile, and that was the intended route, and it was tiring.
I don't
Yeah.
remember that one for some reason.
Yeah. All right. So the great event. Check out Muddy Water OCR for anyone who's looking for some great local races. Again, I would put it at the top of local brands I've done that put up the events that put on one event a year that are kind of local. I'd put this at the top, excluding definitely in Kansas. I like personally, I like Mythic Race better in Missouri and Hazelwood OCR, but those are Missouri races. But for like the Kansas, kind of northern Texas little ones I've done this year, this was my favorite one. So I would check them out. Also want to talk about real quick another local one I found. So the last 2 weeks of September, I think I raced every weekend in September. The last 2 weeks of September, I was doing a Army combatives course. So I wasn't going to travel and far for anything, but these two races presented an opportunity over the weekend. So I was like, well, let me jump into both of them. So the other one I did the weekend before was called Wildwood Adventure Run, and it is typically held last weekend in September. They do 2 events a year. One of them is in April. That's a kids race, but their other event is in late September, and that's the all ages race. And normally it's the same weekend as OCR World Championships, so I haven't been able to go the last 2 years. But the event's like, I think 17 minutes from my house, so I finally got to go this year. And again, expectations were very low, right? I'm like, this thing's like, it's at a zip line park, so I had to, I was expecting it. It just, it's not their primary, money making or their primary goal. It's just like, oh, we have some land. We'll also put an obstacle course race on our zip line park. So I went there, and one, it reminded me a lot of Casey Timber, just the same atmosphere, kind of that waiting area, just like Casey Timber has. They had a fire. They had some games out there. They have obviously advertising their zip line tours that they do. I think it's a little bit smaller than the Casey Timber one, but they did look like fun high adventure zip lines. And then the course was a 2-mile course. I think actually a little bit under 2 miles. Most obstacles only had 1 or 2 lanes, but the trail was actually pretty wide. It wasn't necessarily single track. It was fairly wide, so you can get a decent number of people on there. And some of the obstacles were like surprisingly difficult. There was a traverse wall that was fairly long. I actually fell off at one point, and it was just the wooden block, so nothing super technical, but it was just an unusually long traverse wall, kind of like a Indian mud runs floating walls, except it's secured at the bottom. But those like panels with the blocks up top. So they had that. They had a slide at one point. They had a mud pit. They had a couple of different balance obstacles that actually were pretty challenging. One of them was just like a bunch of posts in the ground, and again, fairly long, that you had to traverse the posts from one end to the other. They had an easy and a hard lane for that. The easy lane had like ropes hanging down to stabilize yourself. The hard lane had no ropes. You just had to bound your way across. They had essentially swinging steps, and again, that were surprisingly hard. Like I took 2 steps and fell immediately, and then I was like, oh, I better redo that. So I went back to the beginning and tried again. They had hanging ropes on that one to help you across. But again, not something I would drive, 4+ hours for. But if you're within a couple hours, and you want to have a fun experience, to me, it's worth it, right? The medals were cool. They had wooden medals that were like essentially burned in. That article is also up on OCR Buddy if anyone wants to check that out. Pretty cool local event. I liked it. Fast, short, like I said, 2 miles, a couple of decent number of like technical balance obstacles, and then for like upper body obstacles, again, expectations were low coming in, and I was pleasantly surprised. They had a set of monkey bars. They had a rope climb, and then they also had essentially a low set of like hanging monkey bars. So that required you kind of like crawl upside down, kind of like a Tyrolean traverse. So and then the usual smattering of like hurdles, high walls, etc. Another balance obstacle that was like a log on a swinging rope, right? Kind of like the Siege has, where it's connected on the corners. So like as you run across, the log can move. But Wildwood Adventure Run, you guys can check it out if anyone's again looking for some fun local brands. Again, it's not going to break the bank. It gives you another opportunity to race. And for those of you who are looking for, maybe some people who are not necessarily competitive on some of the bigger races, I think some of these smaller racers are great to kind of get some of those age group or overall podiums under your belt and get used to kind of running at the front of the pack, because it's sometimes a different experience. You kind of sometimes have to pace different when you're racing people versus just like, hey, I'm just racing for my personal best time. Yeah. Any questions or thoughts on Wildwood Adventure Run from the group?
I've never even saw or heard of it until I saw you sign up or mention it on Facebook. But I think it's something, I'd be interested in trying in the future. I love the courses that are out there in the woods.
Yeah.
Gives you a little more to look at,
Yeah, the course if you remember Casey Timber Challenge from a couple years ago before they upgraded a lot of their obstacles, this had a very similar feel. But like I said, I was surprised that some of the obstacles were surprisingly long, despite not being like overly complex. So you're not going to get like the fancy trussing like you would at OCR-WC or Mythic Race. But it very has that homemade obstacle construction feel for the woods. But it was fun. Again, I think most OCR is fun. So there's very few courses I've been to. I've been like, well, that was terrible. And I think for a local brand that's out, on property of a zip line, I think this is a good one. So comparing the two, I would Muddy Water I liked better, again, because of the atmosphere and the afternoon start. What was unusual? This one actually technically, I guess I technically counteracted my previous statement. This one it was a Sunday race, and it was at I think it was at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. So this technically was an afternoon start as well. And it was on a Sunday. So it was like after church. It was like, all right, now that you're done with church, head over to the obstacle course and get ready to run. So, yeah.
So is it because like the KC Timber Challenge? I assume it's because Saturday is their money maker for the zip lines, so they really can't shut down the zip lines and put on the event. So that's kind of I always thought that they did those on Sundays.
That would be my guess. I don't know for certain, but that makes sense to me. Yeah. So
I like
Cool.
hearing about ones like that I'm unaware of. And as I try to get some more people from where I'm from involved, it's a little bit further drive than I normally go. But if I can encourage a few people to come with me, then it's not nearly a big feat to come down myself for 5 or 6 hour drive. If I've got 2 or 3 people, I'm trying to get encouraged to get into the sport.
Yeah, and again, the price point's going to be much lower than you're going to. I mean, the amount you pay for gas registration, you will still come out lower than like a single person entering for a major brand race, right? So that's how you get people in the sport. You got to show them what the sport is at a lower price point first to get them interested, because the average person's not like, oh, here's $200 for a last minute, Tough Mudder Spartan race. Yeah, no problem. They're like, maybe I don't want to spend that much. So.
Yeah, JC, you need to check out the KC Timber Challenge. The Yeti is the next one. It'll be probably the third week in January, 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
But their course is a lot of it is kind of built in, and it's fun enough where they change it up every event. So there's always going to be something new. And then it's fun to, run it fast and then go back through with family, kids. We've already started that tradition where I run it first wave, and then once I finish, I hop in and kind of run with my wife, and I take my son with me. I take pictures for them. It's just fun. I mean, they're so laid back about the atmosphere and the rules and stuff. I mean, it's kind of, anything goes as long as you're respectful and,
Yep. Strongly agree. The Casey Timber Yeti is my favorite one of the Casey Timbers events. So I plan on being there this year as well, or next year rather, technically, because it's January 2024. All right, we're going to start wrapping it up. A quick episode for you all. Any final shout outs you want to give? Start off with JC.
Yeah, I just like to thank you guys for always keeping me interested in this and doing these podcasts. Eric Gates, the guy that put on this race, he was fantastic with his communication. His throughout was really nice, and it was really well organized. My family for letting me do some of these crazy things on the weekend, and that beat performer Thomas got me started on that, and I've been utilizing that since Rugged a couple years ago. And other than that, that's it for me.
All right, Tom, jumping over to you.
Well, I just got to give the Muddy Water a big shout out. Every aspect of this race was just high quality, from the footage, drone, cameraman, obstacles, well made, everything. Very unique. Felt like you were doing an obstacle pretty often. The communication, I don't think you could find a Facebook of a OCR that puts so many updates and has great communication with its racers and people that are involved. The festival, the scenery, the awards, like you mentioned, the scoreboard, like every part of this event was quality. There wasn't anything that you could really point out other than, the stickers, but that's nature. I mean, you can't do anything about that.
Part of OCR.
Yeah, and it's part of, you could choose a place that doesn't have stickers, but then you're going to be running on a flat field somewhere and on a farm. I mean, you can only pick so many things in OCR. It's all about overcoming obstacles anyways. I mean, and it's supposed to be tough. So the stickers are just another obstacle. But no, I just got to give them a big shout out, because there was nothing of this event that seemed like, I wish they would have done this, other than, a little better on the course markings. But I think they got that handled pretty well. And before I could even catch my breath, they were already asking for the feedback and taking notes on what they were going to improve for next year. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. When I come to smaller events, I tend to, like, for this one, I looked at the course map ahead of time, something I often don't do, just because I never know what the course markings are going to be like. So I'm like, well, let me just get a kind of a layout of generally where I'm going, as opposed to just blindly following course markings. So highly recommend that for if you're going to any local events. I didn't have any issues with any of the course markings. So yeah, Tom took a wrong turn a couple times, but again, I recommend looking at the course map ahead of time, and part of you got to pay attention.
To be fair, they did tell me though.
Oh yeah, you did have one of the volunteers give you give you some bad
a couple of them.
yeah. So,
but I mean, it is what it is. It's not a big. They really took the feedback, and I think next year there'll be an improvement. And now that I've done the race, I don't think it'll be any issue. It's one of those things. Once you do a course for the first time, it's part of it. I mean, I bet one out of every 3, maybe 4 OCRs I do, I go off course at least a little bit. I mean, you saw that at Rugged Maniac.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think JC actually did the same thing I did on that same obstacle.
Yes, at Rugged I did.
That
Ran
was
straight and stuff.
Yeah. That's from Rugged KC. That was a little confusing. So, and I don't think we actually mentioned how we did. So, JC finished 3rd for the 5K competitive, and then Tom was ahead of me in the 5K competitive until he ran off course. And then, long story short, if you would have made every correct turn, you would have finished ahead of me. So we ended up calling it a tie for first between the two of us. So yeah, I've raced it against you enough times where I know that, like, about halfway through the race, I know if it's one of those days where I think I can pull him in front of you, and then I know there are other days where it's like, oh no, I'm not catching him today. I'm feeling a little bit off. He's feeling better than me. So yeah, no issues there. And then we won the team relay, and then you guys won your age group for the 2 mile. I sat out for the 2 mile. So,
well, it was one of those races. I came out feeling just great, and especially with the burpees, I think I had a decent push at the beginning, and it was just one of those things that each mistake just kind of brought me down even more and more and more. And I was like, and then I thought I was going to lose it on the 2 mile too, because I chose the swimming route, and then I see people taking the running route, which is significantly faster.
It was faster. It was.
So I was like, I'm about to lose potentially another podium because, the competitor in me says, don't take the easy one, take the harder one. I can't sit up there and accept an award knowing I didn't do everything at the max or the hardest level. It's kind of like KC Timber. We have that unwritten rule to always take the hard lanes.
Take the hard lane, right? Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. And JC mentioned earlier during the relay, we were talking. I was, with that final leg, you had to redo the water or the land route, and we were sitting there, and it was like, everyone's taking the water route, right? And it was like, yeah. I was like, okay, we're all on the same page. Like, I don't want to be like jumping the water and someone goes blowing by on the land route. So, usually the land route, usually when they do stuff like that, the land route's a little bit longer. It didn't quite make up for the extra time you spent in the water for this one. So,
yeah, I thought that was kind of odd that usually your penalty or your handicap route should ideally take more time. So, yeah, maybe that's something that can be looked at in the future.
Yeah.
If not, I'll be running.
Right. All right. So that kind of wraps things up. Again, make sure you support your local OCR. Again, OCR Buddy is going to be your primary place I recommend going to find any of these races. And then additionally, you can look in those, like we found this one. We initially found it through a running group through JC. So again, another great place. And, if you're in a running group and they talk about an OCR that's local, connect them with OCR Buddy, right? Be like, hey, here's the app you want to get your information to, because they can get the word out to larger groups. So connect them to OCR Buddy. That's how OCR Buddy grows. That's how we grow the sport. That's how we keep it going. So please check that out. If you're heading to World's Toughest Mudder, pick up those Bleg mitts ahead of time. Again, I usually bring a couple with me, but I can't pack everyone's Bleg mitts because then I don't have room for my own equipment. So please order your Bleg mitts online ahead of time, small, medium, and large. You can go check it out. It's over at the new teamstrengthspeed.com website. Please check that out. Also, my books are available on there, and my documentary, Ultra OCR Man, the 24-minute film, is also available on there. So you can check that out. That's $9.99. Again, if that does well, we'll hopefully put out some more video content with Bobby Ross. If that does not do well, I will have a hard time convincing Bobby to come back out and spend a lot of his time to film more OCR related content for me. So please check that out. Then head over to OCR Buddy, check out the race review articles. Take a look at those, please. And then if you haven't heard, have you guys heard of Tough Mudder Arabia? It's big news. Have you guys heard this?
I have not.
JC?
No.
So Tough Mudder Arabia, so the Middle East version of Tough Mudder. So again, it's part of the same brand. It's a affiliate brand essentially. They are putting on a Tough Mudder Infinity, the 8-hour competitive one, in February. I believe it's February 24th. It is the largest prize purse in OCR history. And legitimately the largest prize purse. Like, there's been other large prize purses, like Joe, when he was like, we're going to give away $1 million if they get 100 miles at Tough Mudder, a Spartan 24-hour Iceland. That was if people get that. I can't remember the exact prize purse off the top of my head, but the prize purse for this is a guaranteed prize purse. So they're paying out several places deep. They're doing a team several places deep, and it is in February 24th. I believe it is in Saudi Arabia. I think we'd mentioned it on the podcast once before, but they officially made the announcement. They officially put up the information about the location. I don't think signups are quite yet open yet, but it is something I haven't signed up for yet, but it is something I've penciled into my schedule. As you know, I traveled to the Middle East. I've been there a whole bunch for the work, but I've also been there a couple times for racing. So this is another one I'm definitely looking at. And I know you're thinking of like, well, I'm not competitive in, I'm not going to be competitive into prize money, but I will say this, there's something special about going to an event where you pull in all the top people, even if you're not in running for that podium placement or that cash money placement, right? It's like going to OCR World Championships, it's going to World's Toughest Mudder, it's being on the same course as the people who are literally the best in the world coming into one location to do this in a competitive nature. So Tough Mudder Infinity, daytime event, 8-hour multi-lap, Saudi Arabia, February 2024. It's going to be pretty epic. So I know there are a lot of the top American athletes are already planning on going. A couple of them have put out videos of Chris Roglowski's video saying she's planning on going. I think Christian Brown Johnson, a couple other people. So something people may want to look at if you're looking for an extended trip and to go to a part of the world that you've never been to before. So
as long as there's not a world war going on over there.
It's not. Saudi Arabia's relatively peaceful.
Well, I'm talking about the Israel and
the Israel Hamas thing. Yeah.
Things are getting a little interesting over there in the Middle East.
Things are always spicy in the Middle East. Things are always spicy.
Which before we get off and we're talking about top athletes, I don't know if you guys saw the World Championships, the crazy finish of Lindsay Webster getting beat.
Oh, yeah, I did see that on the A-frame cargo net, like literally 10 feet before the finish.
And all she had it was on the down too, the decline of it. So she went up fast and then and this is something I've always loved about. I don't really know her. I just watch some of her videos and, podcasts and things like that. She, as you see the other girl crossing the finish line, still had the biggest smile on her face. I don't think that girl is ever mad or upset, or she's just such a positive person to see and be around in the sport. And the very first thing she did, she had a smile all the way from that pass, all the way to going up to the girl that won first place and giving her a hug. Like, it was really cool to see that, because I think you and I, all of us, and JC, I think our personalities, we would be pretty upset uh, in that situation. And then Ryan Atkins finally getting his first place 15K.
Yeah.
So
OCR, yeah. Yeah. So as we're recording this OCR World Championship, the team relay probably should have finished by the time we were recording this, but recording this on the weekend of OCR World Championships. And the A-frame, that's not the first time that's decided a race, which is pretty wild. Why we just had Cameron James on a couple episodes ago, and he was talking about how that decided the pro podium at OCRWC a couple of years ago. So there's benefits to being able to get through obstacles efficiently as fast as possible. And the difference between Lindsay and Nicole's the one who beat her. Nicole Marigold's the one who's beat her at the line. Lindsay did the flip over the top, which almost everyone does. Nicole did something that very few people, well, I would say very few people, a much less common one, where it's a double flip. So you flip over the top, and then once you land, you reach down and do another flip. So you do like a front roll, which is why she covered that obstacle much faster than Lindsay, and she was able to bounce off of it and run across the line. So, if you're training for obstacles, you want to figure out the most efficient way possible. Plug my own books here again. The new Strength and Speed Guide to Elite Obstacle Course Racing has a lot of those tips in there about how to get through obstacles fast and efficient. So you're going to want to check those out. And then, obviously, in addition to reading my books, right, you should always be learning, right? So watching stuff on coverage like the OCR World Championships can give you some of those tips from some of the top athletes, as you can see them skip holds that they don't need to use. And that makes the difference between someone, moving up a placement or someone moving down a placement, and can sometimes be the difference between winning and losing, or being on the podium and not being on the podium, etc. So,
yeah, I think if you're, if you're 100 yards or less of someone on a podium or even first place, it's just one mistake on an obstacle or one thing that you can cut 2 or 3 seconds, and that makes up that distance. So I think we've seen a couple times in the last few years, we've had a lot of close finishes. All it takes is just try and steal some of those couple seconds here and there, and be able to put yourself in the position at the end. Because I think most of us, if we're in it at the very end, you're going to kind of see that Nicole Miracle kind of finish with the second, third place. They got nothing to lose, So.
yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Take off here. Next episode, we're gonna be talking World's Toughest Mudder. I'm gonna give you some final tips and preparation points for that. I got Miranda Huber's coming on. We're gonna be talking her first. Obviously, she's an experienced OCR person, right? Member of the MudGear-Hannibal Race Pro Team, but she's going to her first World's Toughest. So she's gonna be picking my brain. So I'll be doing a lot of Q&A, answering questions for World's Toughest. And then if you need more World's Toughest, my friend Jason Rulo, a creator of the Neptune, recorded a whole bunch of episodes on obstacle racing media. I have not actually had the time to sit down and listen to all of them, but I know Jason, so I know he always puts out good information. So you can head over and check those out on obstacle racing media, talking World's Toughest Mudder tips. And then again, if you want more tips, Mud Run Guides, Ultra OCR Bible, my book, available off teamstrengthspeed.com and also available on Amazon. Can't recommend that enough. I literally dumped all the knowledge I had on Ultra OCR into a single book. It's the only book on ultra distance obstacle course racing besides my biography, Ultra OCR, man. So Ultra OCR Bible for for application to race, you will not find a better book. I can guarantee it. And then if you want some more mental tips, my book on endurance, take a lot of lessons learned from the podcast and apply them to endurance racing, whether it be obstacle course racing, triathlon running, marathon running, etc. Speaking of marathon running, the world record was broken this morning. If you haven't seen it on Chicago, 2 hours, I believe it was 38 seconds, which is insane. So we are getting very close to someone officially breaking the 2 hour mark on an actual marathon course. It has been broken in the past, but it was fixed conditions, as in they were running on a track. They had a pace car. They had pacers coming on and off. So someone has physically proven it is possible, but no one's done it on an actual marathon course where they don't have some of those additional helping points. So
I thought it was where they were using a a human barrier. They were like running in a V, so it
Yeah,
was kind
they
of a
were.
windbreak.
Yeah, they had pacers coming in and then blocking the wind for him,
Yeah.
to create that windshield. Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is the first one. This is the world record for an actual marathon course, and he crosses the finish line and he's like, "Yay!" And it was like, "Geez, man! Like 1.5 seconds per mile, 1.5 seconds faster, and you'd have been sub 2. It's insane. It's pure insanity. So it's coming.
What is that per mile? What's that pace?
That's 4 minutes 36 seconds per mile
Wow.
Are you kidding?
for 2 hours.
Well, that is.
It
I mean,
doesn't,
I
doesn't even
can't
seem
even
humanly
fathom that.
possible. It doesn't even seem humanly possible. So
I think I've hit 5-minute mile, and I'm on the ground. I
I
mean,
think my PR for a
that's
mile is just over 5 minutes. I don't try to run a mile as fast as I can very often. I did one 1 mile race once, and I think my time was like 5:10 or something. That was like a decade ago. But
This year I tried it just for the heck of it, middle of a run, and managed to get 5:59, and I was pretty thrilled with that.
yeah, it's 4:36 is. If people watching it on TV don't understand how hard it is, because you watch someone and you're like, oh, he doesn't look like he's pushing that hard. And it's like, oh, no. If you could, that's why I really want at the Olympics. I want them to put like 2 extra lanes per event. And then it's like, here's an average, relatively physically fit person. And then here's like someone who's does that sport, but not at the elite level, just to show you how preposterously fast some of these guys are, because they'd be way. I mean, you'd just be getting lapped over and over again for a lot of these events. So,
Oh yeah. Do you ever see the flash guy at the baseball game? Where they
yeah,
let somebody in the stands get like, so they run the home run section going across the field. And so it makes kind of like a oval or half circle. And they let the first runner go like halfway, and then this flash guy in this onesie suit, tights, just obliterates them. It's insane. And then I thought there was a TV show. What was it? The $1 Million Mile or something, where like John Albin and some big names in like OCR, they would give these guys a head start. And if they could finish this course before John Albin, and then they would win, the cash purse. And I mean,
yeah,
they would give them like a significant lead.
yeah.
And then these
Killian
runners
was on that, and Isaiah Vidal, a couple other guys, I think. So I don't think Albin was actually on that one, but
he wasn't.
I
I
think
thought he
so.
made. I thought I heard his name.
I could be wrong. I didn't actually. I watched a couple episodes. I didn't watch the whole series. But
I like those kind of events, like the pros versus Joes, where they really, put in perspective how good these professional athletes and top athletes in the world are, just in all different sports. I mean, it's insane what humans have come to at this point physically.
yeah,
I just
specialized training. Yeah.
then it'd be you in the 2-miler, Tom.
Hmm?
Oh, I looked at our times for the 2-miler, and I was happy to be within 59 seconds of you overall time on the 2
And
mile.
you swam, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, I was getting nervous because I knew I had in the back of my mind that, man, if you were actually one I was worried about the most, if he runs it, it's pretty certain that he could actually beat me. I don't think I could have made enough time to be ahead and swim and you run. And so I was sitting there, people were talking to me, and all I was doing was watching my clock and looking for you the entire time.
Well,
And I had some relief once I saw the like 21:30 or something pass. I was like, okay, I can breathe a little bit.
yeah, it was you're always fun to chase. One of these days.
It ain't fun to have you guys behind me.
Like I said, it
You
only
got-
takes a couple people at a local race to turn it from something that's going to be an easy jog into something that's hyper competitive. So,
Oh yeah, very. And I mean, us three, until I ran into a whole nother course, we were all pretty much neck and neck, just within seconds of each other. I mean, that picture of us going over the wall in the first mile
Mm-hmm.
all right, we're
made me
gonna
nervous.
wrap it up. We'll catch you guys later this year, or maybe at Casey Timber Challenge in January.
Sounds
Yep,
good.
I think that
All
I'll
right.
see you there.
Out.